I'm Janine Wager, the host of Pianokraft Presents. This is a new series of interviews and performances by internationally renowned pianists that we want to partner with. Tonight's performance takes place at Dromborg Castle, the home of Bruce and Joan Johnson in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Tonight's artist is classical pianist Alexis Smith. Hi, Jean. It's great to have you here tonight.
And it's great to be with you again.
Why did you choose Chopin for tonight?
I think in life what you fall in love with you don't choose, and I think I just love Chopin, and it's the bicentennial. It's also the bicentennial of Schumann. I could have played Schumann, but Chopin sits closer to my heart inside. But it's really funny because if I had to choose a day to spend with either one of them, I would have spent it with Schumann without a doubt.
Schumann
Yes.
over Chopin?
Definitely. Schumann was a journalist. He was politically involved. He was a writer of music. He even was an inventor. He invented something to hold his fourth finger up as a pianist, so to try and make his fourth finger work better. And for us lucky people, he, did his fourth finger in, and so he became a composer. But very interesting. Whereas if I were to go out for a day with Chopin, we'd probably start out in his carriage. And not only that, I'd probably have to carry him into his carriage, too.
Okay.
Poor little frail guy. And we would have gone, first of all, probably to the hair salon to have his hair curled. Then we probably would have gone to his tailor to have his little waistcoat made, the latest fashion. And then we would have gone to his top hat man, and don't forget the white little gloves.
Oh,
fresh
my God.
and new.
So he
Would have been exciting.
was into fashion.
Chopin was into such fashion that it is said by everyone around Chopin is fashion. He is the fashion of Paris. The ladies were trying to dress like Chopin, and all the men were getting jealous of Chopin.
What is your take on his nocturnes? Because you just finished a recording of all 21 nocturnes.
They are the most personal of his compositions, and I think the ones that are really the freest and perhaps most closest to him. And they present just, I think, every single side of Chopin. And if you look at all of Chopin's sides, he was a caricaturist. Did you know that? And it brought a lot of fun. And on the other end, he had a terrible preoccupation with death.
Really?
Yes, even from the time he was adolescent, he was obsessed with death. He would dream that he was in a deathbed. If he went even someplace else to stay, he would wonder if someone else had died there. And then he would put himself in the place of the dead person. So it was just this obsession that always stayed with him.
Do you feel that in his nocturnes? Or
I do. I feel in his nocturnes that you go through the hallucinations, you go through the illusions, you go through so many different kinds of moods.
The first nocturne, as I recall, was written in 1830, so he had just arrived in Paris?
He had just perhaps arrived in Paris.
Okay.
Now Chopin, we don't even know for sure that he did it in 1830 because he could write and rewrite something again and then put a different date on it. So we can't really know for sure that he wrote it at that time. But it was sometime within the time that he decided to leave his home, and he went to Vienna.
Okay, his home in Poland.
Right.
Okay.
And he decided to travel to Vienna. He stayed there for 8 months, and the reports from Vienna are that he was not very happy there at all.
Why? A little uptight?
It's just a little uptight. He said that the Viennese, their waltzes just made him sick because they were so cheerful.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Where his were very nostalgic and feeling, and those
melancholy.
Yeah, and those Viennese were just too cheerful. He couldn't stand it. And also, I think his name was Halsinger, the publisher, would not publish his works. No one seemed to care that much about Chopin there. So he was very happy to leave Vienna when he did and travel on to Paris.
Now, was he happy in Paris?
That's a good one. Was Chopin ever happy?
Yeah.
But he found Paris, when he got there, absolutely intoxicating, exuberant feelings. He loved Paris like everything. Paris really suited him. And then at the same time, he had all the greatest artists of the time there. So there was a whole gathering from Hugo to Schumann to Liszt, and you can just go on and on about who was there.
I'm also interested that you played the posthumous one, which was, of course, written in the same year as the first one. Okay.
Within the same time.
Okay.
And it's posthumous because Chopin specified exactly that he did not want it published. It was unfinished.
He didn't like it.
I don't know whether he liked it or not, but he did not finish it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there was something that was happening there.
Okay.
And you can see he really didn't, because there are two main versions of it. The first version is in cut time, and the second version, starting with basically the same notes, is in 4/4 time marked lento.
Oh my God.
So there's a huge range of ways to interpret this piece. And the middle part, you'll hear some obligato in the bass, and there is really no treble. And there, on one version, you see some grace notes and a few notes written in that were probably he thought he might use. Everybody does it a little bit differently, and you know, I think mine's the best. What can I say?
Of course. What can you say?
I like
Do you ever
mine.
play it in a happy mood in cut time?
Yeah, I've tried it both ways.
Really?
Yeah, and if I try and play it happy when I'm in a sad mood, it doesn't work.
Okay.
But if I'm playing it happy in a happy mood, then it's just great.
Now, the third I'm haunted by, okay, which is the seventh nocturne.
I find it perhaps the most haunting of all his nocturnes. In fact, for me, it's almost like he had a predilection of his death in it. And it was written later in 1835.
Well, he didn't
Perhaps
die till quite a few
49.
years. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but it could have been just a predilection of his meeting George Sand, which is pretty melodramatic, you know.
This is pre-George Sand.
Most likely, if he messed around with, you know, his opuses a bit, he could have just met Sand, but it doesn't sound like it, really. I think of it as such a lonely one, in such a lonely space, and especially with the Bechstein I'm playing, with the clear sounds, you just feel like he's suspended in space, not coming or going, but just in his loneness, walking. And then you feel like he meets something. He meets something very brutal that he's got to confront. And then the most beautiful thing, the way it ends, is that you just, I should say, not you, but I just feel such a strong resolution that is so beautiful. That's what I really love most about it, is the way the whole thing resolves. when I actually looked at the nocturnes and realized what they were, I was just amazed. I didn't really understand the nocturnes at all. But what really got me, I had a friend give me 17 different versions of the nocturnes and 17 of the top players, and he brought in the most different of all of them. That would be the greatest variety. So I listened to 17 recordings of each nocturne, and when I was done with that, I realized I was left just with a blank slate. There was nothing there. I was totally on my own. There was nobody to help me at all. I realized that anything could be said or anything could be done, and it was just a blank space.
That's a fantastic way to approach it, because your recording is so...
It was very scary at first.
It's so individualistic. Your CD is recorded on a Steinway D.
Right.
And you just finished performing on a Bechstein. What did you find was the biggest difference? I mean, what did you have to do with the Bechstein to make this work, or what could you do on it that you didn't do on the Steinway?
Well, first of all, I think I really follow the piano more than the piano following me.
Okay.
I think I listen for the resolution of each note, and the Bechstein has such a clear, transparent sound, as opposed to a Steinway that has a very robust sound. And so every note will resolve differently. And this had a transparency that I think really lent to these nocturnes, but made me feel different about them, just because of the transparency of the instrument.
So you felt different about the nocturnes on the Bechstein than you did with your performances on the Steinway?
Yeah, really. Very different.
In what sense? Did you hear inner voices coming out in a different way than you heard with the Bechstein performance?
Yes. If a Bechstein has that kind of clarity, so you can hear inner voices more, depending on whether you want to bring them out or not. But the ability to voice, I can't say it's better. You get a good Steinway, or, you know, what can I say? It all comes from the heart and the head. But it was a delight, really, to play this Bechstein.
Well, this whole
evening,
it was
exceptional.
This whole evening was a delight. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.